Level 1. The Latchkey Kid. You're 8 years old and you just let yourself into an empty house. Both your parents work and there's no one waiting for you. You hang a key around your neck on a shoestring so you don't lose it. You already know the rules. Don't answer the door. Don't tell anyone you're home alone. Make yourself a snack, watch reruns until the streetlights come on, and don't call the office unless it's an emergency. Nobody's checking your homework. Nobody's asking about your day. You're raising yourself between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock every single weekday, and you're doing it in silence. You learn to be self-sufficient before you learn long division. You learn that adults are busy, that help isn't coming, and that if something breaks, you're the one who has to fix it. This isn't neglect to you. This is just Tuesday. You're building something in these empty hours, a kind of quiet toughness nobody names yet, but everybody will need later. Years from now, people will call it independence. Right now, it just feels like being alone in a house that's too quiet, learning to trust yourself because there's genuinely no one else in the room to trust. Level 2. The Mall Rat. You're 14, and your parents' marriage just split in half. You've got a bedroom in 2 different houses now, and neither one feels fully yours. So you disappear into the mall instead, with a Walkman clipped to your jeans and a backpack full of nothing. You and your friends have no money, but you have hours, endless unsupervised hours. You loiter outside the record store. You split one order of fries 5 ways. You make eye contact with the mall cop and don't flinch. You record songs off the radio onto blank cassettes, waiting with your finger on record for the DJ to shut up. Nobody drives you anywhere anymore. You walk, you bike, you figure it out. You're forming your identity out of band t-shirts and borrowed opinions because the adults around you are too distracted to hand you one. You're cynical before you're supposed to be. You've already learned that institutions lie, that promises get broken, and that the only people you can really count on are sitting next to you on the curb outside the food court. Level 3. The first real job. You graduated into a recession, and nobody warned you the rules had changed. You send out 80 resumes on paper, actual paper, and get back 4 callbacks. You finally land something, entry level, barely above minimum wage, a windowless cubicle, and a landline phone that isn't even yours to personalize. Your boss is a boomer who thinks you're entitled for wanting a lunch break. You clock in, you clock out, you watch older coworkers get raises for doing less than you. You start carrying a pager because the company wants to reach you after hours, for free, and you accept it because what choice do you have? You're proving yourself in a system that was built before you existed and wasn't designed with you in mind. You keep your head down. You do the grunt work nobody else wants. You're invisible in the org chart, but you're taking notes on how the machine actually runs, and one day that knowledge is going to be the only leverage you've got. Level 4. The Climber. You've put in the years, and it's finally paying off. You've got a title now, a cubicle with actual walls, maybe even a door. You manage 3 or 4 people who remind you painfully of yourself a decade ago. You're the bridge between 2 worlds, translating boomer expectations downward and Gen Y frustration upward, and getting blamed by both sides when something breaks. You work later than anyone else because you remember what it felt like to be overlooked, and you refuse to overlook the people under you. But here's the catch. You're also expendable in a way your bosses aren't. When the company needs to cut costs, middle management goes first, and you know it. You watch 2 rounds of layoffs take good people out at the knees while executives keep their bonuses. You survive by being useful in ways that are hard to replace, by staying calm when everyone else panics, and by never fully trusting the security of the paycheck, no matter how good it looks on paper. You start keeping a private list of contacts, just in case, a quiet insurance policy nobody in the office knows you're building. Level 5. The New Parent. You just brought a kid home, and nobody handed you an instruction manual because there isn't one. You're still working full-time, your partner's working full-time, and daycare costs more than your first apartment did. You're doing this without the built-in village your parents had, without grandparents down the street, without a neighborhood full of stay-at-home moms watching every kid on the block. You're Googling fevers at 2 in the morning and going into a client meeting at 9 with dried spit up on your shoulder that you didn't notice until lunch. You're determined not to repeat the latchkey years, so you overcorrect. You show up to every recital, you coach the team, you never let that key hang around your own kid's neck. It's exhausting in a way nobody prepared you for. You're building the childhood you didn't get, one overscheduled, over-present weekend at a time, and quietly wondering if you're doing too much or nowhere near enough. Level 6, the sandwich generation. You're in your late 40s now, and the walls are closing in from both directions at once. Your kids are teenagers, expensive, moody, and still need you every single day. Your parents are aging, and the phone calls about doctors and falls and forgotten medications are starting to come more often than the calls that are just to talk. You're the one filling out their paperwork, the one driving them to appointments, the one Googling assisted living costs on your lunch break, while also helping your kid with algebra homework you barely remember yourself. Nobody's taking care of you in this equation. You're the shock absorber for 2 entire generations, and there's no rule book for that either, just like there wasn't one for the last stage. You keep going because stopping isn't an option. You're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, but you show up anyway every day because that's the only thing you've ever really known how to do. Level 7, the peak earner. You finally hit your stride. Decades of grinding have landed you somewhere with real authority, a real salary, maybe a corner office or the remote work version of one. You're respected in a way the mall rat and the cubicle nobody could have imagined, but the ground keeps shifting under you. You watched the internet arrive and rebuild your industry once. You watched smartphones do it again. Now you're watching artificial intelligence do it a third time, and you're the one expected to adapt fastest while managing people half your age who assume you're behind. You're not behind. You're just tired of proving it over and over to rooms that keep getting younger. You're at the top of your earning power and also, quietly, the most anxious you've ever been about being replaced. You keep learning new systems nobody's paying you extra to learn because standing still has never once been safe for you. You've watched 3 generations of technology try to make you obsolete, and every single time you outlasted the hype by simply refusing to stop adapting. Level 8, the empty nester. The kids are gone now, off to college or their own apartments, and the house is unbearably quiet. You spent 20 years building your identity around being needed every single hour, and now the phone doesn't ring the way it used to. Your parents are gone, or close to it, and you're suddenly the oldest generation in your own family, whether you feel ready for that or not. Your knees complain on the stairs. Your doctor uses the word "at your age" now, and it stings more than you expected. But there's something underneath the silence, too. A version of freedom you haven't felt since you were 8 years old with a key around your neck. You start doing things nobody assigned you. You take the trip. You buy the motorcycle you wanted at 19. You're rebuilding an identity from scratch, on your own terms, for maybe the first time in your entire adult life. Level 9, the elder statesman. Your kids have kids now, and you watch them raise children in a world that looks nothing like the one that raised you. No unsupervised bike rides to the edge of town. No disappearing until the streetlights come on. Every moment of your grandkids' lives is tracked, scheduled, and posted online, and you can't decide if that's safer or just sadder. You're the bridge again. This time, you're translating the old world for people who've never lived without a screen in their hand, explaining a childhood they can't picture. You give advice nobody asked for and mean every word of it. You've buried friends. You've buried parents. You understand, in your bones now, that time is the only currency that was ever real. You've got wisdom nobody wanted from you at 25, and now people finally sit still long enough to hear it. Level 10, the legacy. You've done all of it now. Raised yourself before you were ready, raised your kids while raising your parents, climbed a ladder that kept getting sawed off behind you, and survived 3 separate economic collapses without ever getting a bailout of your own. Nobody handed you a system that worked. You built your own out of whatever was lying around. Cassette tapes, pagers, dial-up internet, layoffs, divorce, grit. Your generation never got a name that stuck the way the ones before and after did. You got skipped in the story, and somehow that made you tougher, not bitter. You're not chasing the next level anymore. You're just here, present, still standing, still showing up, the same way you did at 8 years old with a key around your neck and no one coming to check on you. You built yourself. Nobody else did it for you. And somewhere along the way, the toughness stopped feeling like a burden and started feeling like the whole point. Was it worth it?